right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started, everyone. Good morning and welcome to the CSU system-wide CSUBUY Procure to Pay or P2P demo series. We're excited to have you join us as we continue preparing for the rollout of CSUBUY P2P across all CSU campuses. CSUBUY P2P is a comprehensive system-wide solution designed to streamline and standardize the full procure-to-pay process. This powerful tool brings together multiple functions under one platform, including supplier self-registration and access to a system-wide shared supplier database, requisition entry and purchase order issuance, receipt tracking and payment processing, and a centralized location for routing and collecting all necessary financial and compliance approvals. By integrating these capabilities, CSUBUY P2P supports greater efficiency, transparency, and consistency in our procurement and payment activities across the CSU system. Today's session is one in a series of demos that aim to give you an early look, a peek behind the curtain at various parts of the new system. To respect your time and ensure clarity, we are breaking down the different functions of P2P into focused demo sessions. Please keep in mind that this is not a training session. These demos are for general exposure only. Formal, hands-on training will be provided closer to your campus's go-live date. Each demo will follow the same webinar format and will be recorded. Recordings will be available on your campus's CSUBUY P2P website for those unable to attend live. The Q&A feature, or in this instance, I think we have the chat feature, will remain open throughout today's session, and we'll do our very best to answer as many questions as possible. At the end of the demo, we'll also share the name and contact information for your campus lead so you know who you can reach out to with questions or follow-up needs. Once again, thanks for being here, and let's get started.
And apologies in advance, I don't think the chat feature is working for our attendees either. So we're going to try to take Q&A at the very end.
All right, sounds good. All right, so next we're going to cover the agenda. Tawny. Thank you. Here's what we'll cover in today's session. We'll start with a brief introduction to CSUBUY, then review the overall project timeline and current status. We'll provide some context for shopper and requesters in the new P2P system, and then we'll move into the demo itself. To support the Chancellor's Office core team with the P2P implementation, the non-live campuses have been organized into regional groups, with each group assigned a strategic advisor. The strategic advisors are Carrie Schmidt, Nicole Lack, myself, Sarah Rumiano, and Tawny Fleming. Each of us brings extensive experience and expertise in the procure-to-pay process, and we are here to help guide and support the campuses throughout their implementation journey. Note the live campuses on this slide are shown with little green dots. The first two campuses successfully went live with P2P in October of 2023, making a major milestone in this system-wide transformation. Since then, two additional waves have continued the momentum, bringing more campuses onto the platform. With the introduction of the Chancellor's Office Multi-University Collaboration Initiative, the timeline for full implementation has been accelerated. As a result, the remaining campuses are now scheduled to go live by early 2026, ensuring that the entire CSU system benefits from a united, modern procure-to-pay solution.
Okay, before we dive into functionality, let's take a moment to review the vision and goals of CSUBUY P2P. Understanding the why helps us better understand the design and decisions that have shaped this project. The vision for P2P is to standardize procurement processes across the CSU, reduce manual steps, and drive efficiencies through automation. Ultimately, this means saving time, reducing risk, and lowering cost. The objectives of P2P are centered around creating a streamlined, integrated platform that simplifies and enhances how we manage procurement and payments across the CSU system. The graphic on this slide visually represents the entire procure-to-pay lifecycle and the key functions that P2P supports. Starting with shopping for goods and services, users can engage in purchasing with access to preferred, contracted, and sustainable suppliers. This flows into requisitioning, ordering, and receiving, all of which are handled in a centralized environment with fewer manual steps. The process concludes with invoicing and payment, emphasizing automation, minimal touchpoints, and visibility throughout. What's important to understand is that P2P will replace many of the fragmented, campus-specific tools and manual workflows currently in use. It consolidates supplier management, including supplier self-registration and a shared system-wide supplier database, requisition creation, and purchase order issuance, receipts, and invoice processing, all into one cohesive system. While P2P will integrate with PeopleSoft CFS, allowing for necessary financial synchronization, the day-to-day workflow will take place within the P2P platform. For example, users will initiate and approve requisitions, manage POs, and review receipts and invoices all within P2P. To keep these demos digestible, we're breaking down the full functionality of P2P into multiple demo sessions, each highlighting different aspects of the platform.
The P2P platform offers a range of valuable benefits. For suppliers, it ensures timely payments and provides convenient self-service tools to track invoice and payment status. For internal users, it streamlines the purchasing experience and automatically routes requisitions and purchase orders to include all necessary financial and compliance approvals. The new P2P platform will replace the current CSUBUY marketplace that requires a P-card to complete transactions, so it will also reduce the amount of monthly transactions that will need to be reconciled. At a system-wide level, the platform enhances data quality, increases visibility across campuses, and supports our ongoing commitment to operational efficiency, accountability, and strategic improvement. This slide shows our high-level timeline. Campuses that are part of this acceleration project are currently in the implementation phase, with readiness and deployment activities scheduled through early 2026. Now we're going to shift into the shopper and requester portion of today's session. This will lay the foundation for understanding what you'll see in the demo. Please note that the configuration you'll be presented is currently live in Cal Poly's production environment. Your campus final configuration may look a bit different. Now we will hand it off to June to demonstrate the shopper requester experience. June, would you like to introduce yourself and get us started?
Yes. Good morning. My name is June Butterfield, and I am the project manager and campus administrator for the CSUBUY systems at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. So thanks for joining today's demonstration of the CSUBUY procure-to-pay system. In this session, I'm going to be walking through the key differences between shopper and requester roles, how to create an order utilizing the Punchout catalog suppliers versus using a form request. And finally, we're going to explore the functionality of the role as we walk through the process of creating a requisition and submitting it into workflow. So let's get started. All right, so this is the CSUBUY shopping homepage. This is your landing page for all of your shopping needs. At the top up here, we have an organization message. Now this is specific to each campus. For Cal Poly SLO, I was able to put in some hyperlinks for resource web pages, one-on-one booking, and some videos on how to set up your defaults and supplier registration. On the left, you have flyouts. This will quickly fly you to or navigate you to different sections of the system. On the bottom, you have a search bar, and on the top, you have a search bar. This is what is called your active shopping cart, bookmarks, your action items, actions that you need to take in the system, notifications to keep you notified all along the way, and your user profile. So let's start and talk about the difference between a shopper and a requester role. As a shopper, you have the ability to create a shopping cart, either utilizing a form or a punch-out supplier. At the shopping cart level, the shopper has the ability to rename the cart, as well as modify the commodity code if needed. If you have the shopper role, you can assign the cart at the shopping cart level. If you select Assign a Cart, you'll be met with this blue hyperlinked word search. You're able to search for anybody within the CSUBUY system at your campus. So it's not specific in nature to just requesters. So we can go ahead and locate the requester we want to assign this cart to. Once you locate them, you can go ahead and select the plus sign. And then you could put a note in as to why they need to go ahead and review and submit this cart into workflow. As a shopper, you have the ability to proceed to check out and be met with the requisition. At this level, as a shopper, you would only have the ability to assign the cart. You would not be able to submit the requisition into workflow. However, you can enter in the chart field string details if you're knowledgeable about them and add any attachments, and then assign the cart to a requester. So at this stage, let's go ahead and assign the cart. Once again, we're going to select the blue hyperlink word search and search for the requester we want to assign this cart to. Once again, selecting the plus sign next to the requester's name, and then entering in some details as to why this cart is being assigned to them. They're going to review and submit this requisition into workflow, and then we'll click Assign. You'll notice that you'll be met with a green succession band saying Cart Assigned. To locate your shopping carts that you have assigned, or to see carts that have been assigned to you, navigate to the Shop flyout, and then to My Carts and Orders, and View Carts. You can see under the Assign Carts tab that I assigned this cart, created by me, to Ashley. From the drop-down under the Actions column, you have the ability to view the cart that you assigned or unassign it. This second cart is a cart that was created by Ashley and assigned to myself. From the Actions drop-down, you have the ability to view that cart, activate it, populate into your active shopping cart, return it back to the individual that assigned the cart to you, or delete it. Now that we've gone over the differences between a shopper and a requester role, let's go ahead and proceed down the shopping homepage. As we scroll down, you can see on the right, you have quick links that'll quickly take you to any of these sections, your approvals folder, and another order search section. So you have search over here down below, search on the top, and search in the middle. As we continue scrolling down, we'll be met with the showcases. On the top is the CSU form requests. You also have your supplier requests. And then as we proceed and scroll down, we have what are called the Punchout or catalog suppliers. If you're unable to view any of your form requests or Punchout suppliers, ensure that your carrots on the right side of the screen are expanded. As we scroll down to these Punchout or catalog suppliers, they may look familiar, as many of them are on your e-marketplace. So let's scroll to the Amazon Business Punchout. When we talk about Punchout suppliers, what we're doing is we're punching out of the CSUBUY P2P system and punching into this supplier's own portal, which has our negotiated pricing and contracts. From here, you can build your cart and create anything that you need. Right now, I already have something in my cart. So let's go ahead and select the cart. I'm going to be reordering these sticky notes. Once you select Proceed to Checkout, that Amazon Punchout is going to state Submit Order for Approval. That means it needs to be punched back into the CSUBUY P2P system and route through the approval workflows of the requisition. So once we select Submit Order for Approval, we're going to be punching back into the P2P system, and the cart is going to be built for us based on what we selected in the Punchout supplier. Once again, you can rename the cart if you like. You can see that the supplier that I selected was Amazon. I have one item I selected, or one line. Here's the item details, the cost details section, and the commodity code is pre-selected based on the supplier. Once again, if you're a shopper, you have the ability to assign the cart at this level or proceed to check out. Once again, you can go ahead and review this requisition. I have my chart field shrink automatically defaulted for this one. You have the ability to update it. As we move along this demonstration, we'll dive deeper into chart field shrinks. Once again, you can submit this request into workflow if you're a requester, or you'll have to assign the cart. Let's head back to our shopping homepage. If you want to clear your cart out, you have the ability of selecting the trash can right here in My Cart, or navigating to your shop flyout, My Carts and Orders, and View Carts. From here, you can look at your Draft Carts tab, locate that cart. If you'd like to delete it or remove it, you can delete it from here. You're met with a green succession band stating that this cart has been deleted. As we navigate back to the shopping homepage, let's continue scrolling down and viewing the showcases. So we went through a demonstration of the actual Punchout catalog suppliers that create the cart for you. Now let's go ahead and view some of the CSU form requests. The first one that we're going to do a demonstration on is the goods and services request form. This is one of the most highly utilized forms on our campus. What's great about all of the forms is that you're met with an instructions landing page. It informs you what you should use the form for and what you should not use the form for. So this is a goods and services. For goods other, services other, you can see furniture, marketing, and so forth. This form should not be utilized for any hospitality requests, IT hardware or software, or so forth. And then it points you in the direction of which form you should use this for. On the bottom is a note that all suppliers must be approved, synced, and registered to be able to complete this form. Go ahead and select Next after reading the instructions. Then we're going to go ahead and search for the supplier we want to start this request for goods or services from. I'm going to go ahead and start this one for Mission Linen. Once you selected the supplier in the supplier search bar, you can select Search. If there's only one supplier that meets that name, it's going to pre-select it right here for you, and it's going to populate on the top. If you want more information about the supplier, you can click on the blue hyperlink name. It allows you to get a little bit more details to ensure that this is the correct supplier you want to start a requisition from. And then we're going to go ahead and select Next. So this is the form fields. On the left-hand side is going to be sections that are required for you to complete. Anything with a green check mark means that you answered all the required questions. If it has a triangle and an exclamation point, that means that there are required questions for you to complete. As you can see, questions with a star or asterisk by it are required questions to answer, and those without are not. So the first question is going to be, what types of goods and services are you requesting? From the drop-down, we're going to select Services Other. When you select any of these different categories, it's going to populate different approvers in your workflow, as well as populate different questions based on what you're selecting for your initial goods or services. This one's going to be Services Other. Is this a blanket order? Meaning, is this an amount only or an open PO? We're going to say yes. Is it a request for a renewal of a previous purchase? No, and it does not have any performance terms. This is not a sole source or a sole brand, and we're going to go ahead and proceed to Next. We want to make sure that there is details or justification to this order. So making sure that as a requester or shopper, you're entering in these key details. This is monthly linen service for towels and mats. You want to add details as to what shop or department this service is going to be required for, etc., and add additional justifications. You can always add an attachment of a documentation for justification if you do not have, if it's greater than 2,000 characters. So let's proceed on. You can see that we still have the cost details section to complete. We finished the other goods and service and the general information section. It's going to ask if we have documentation to attach. At Cal Poly, we always do. We need to make sure that we attach a quote and any supporting documentation that is needed. Now, since we selected from the drop-down of the first question, Services Other, it populated the cost details for Services Other. So let's go ahead and enter in the first services. This is going to be for $1,000. It's going to be a quantity of 1 since it's amount only blanket PO, and the unit of measure is lot. We want to make sure that there is a product description. So this is towels and mat service for a specific department. And since we selected Services Other, it's going to make us required to select our own commodity code. However, since it is Services Other, it does determine it is a non-taxable item. We're going to go ahead and select Edit to the commodity code. You have the ability to go ahead and type in the commodity code you like, or search from these sections. Since I selected Services Other, I'm going to go to the Services folder and then select General Services and save changes. So now I have answered all of the required questions here, and you can go ahead and hit Next. If I only had one line for this requisition or for this request for services, I would select Add and Go to Cart. However, I have an additional line item I need to add to this request. When you're adding line items to the CSUBUY P2P system, what you're doing is you're duplicating a line item and going in and modifying the cost details to align with your second line item. To do that, we're going to select the drop-down and select Save to Cart and Add Another. When you do that, you'll notice that your active shopping cart on the top is going to populate your first line item. And then you're going to navigate to your cost details section and modify this to align with your second line item. My second line item is only going to be for $500, and it's going to be for a specific shop instead. If you needed to update any of the questions that you previously answered for the first line item, you would go ahead and navigate to those sections of the field. Once you have completed modifying your cost details for the second line item, you can go ahead and press Next. If you had a third line item to add, you would repeat the process of selecting the dropdown and select Save to Cart and Add Another, and modify those line item cost details to align with your third line item. However, for this blanket amount only, I'm going to only have 2 line items. So at this point, I'm going to select Add and Go to Cart. You'll notice in the shopping cart, the active cart, that we have now added our second line item for $500. Once again, on the cart name, you can rename it. So let's go ahead and rename this cart. Just going to name it Test. As we scroll down, we can see we have 2 items. That means 2 different line items for this supplier, Mission Linen Supply. Anything that is blue and hyperlinked allows you to navigate back into it. So let's go ahead and review this shopping cart. On the left, you can see the column is for your line item. So there's line item 1 and 2. This is the form that created line item 1. And this is the form that created line item 2. Here are the cost detail sections that we entered for line item 1, as well as the item description. Here's the commodity code that we selected that you can modify at this level as well. And as we scroll down, here's line item 2. The form that created it, and the cost details that are associated with it. Let's go ahead and proceed to check out. So here's our requisition. You can see that I have some areas over here that I actually need to go ahead and resolve prior to submitting the requisition into workflow. I like to work from top to bottom. So the first thing that we need to go over is ensuring that this PO is set up as an amount only blanket PO, since we answered the question yes to blanket PO on the form itself. We're going to utilize a pencil next to the PO information and then check amount only blanket PO. If this is a multi-year PO, you have the ability to check right there as well. So let's ensure that we select amount only blanket PO and save. You'll notice that the error has been cleaned up on the side of my summary section, and I do have the ability to submit this into workflow. However, there's multiple steps I still need to complete. The first thing that I like to do is ensure that I add any attachments that are necessary, such as a quote or any kind of additional documentation. Selecting the attachment tab, you have the ability to add an internal attachment, which will route to anybody in your campus. Anybody can view it. Or from the dropdown, you can add an external attachment to allow your supplier to view it. So let's go ahead and add the internal attachment, such as a quote. You can add an attachment by a file or a link. If you do a file, you can drop it or you can browse for it. Your document is going to show right below it. If this is the incorrect document you wanted to attach to this requisition, you have the ability to remove it by selecting the trash can. Go ahead and save changes. You'll notice right next to your attachment it has populated a numeric value of 1. Each additional attachment you add will increase the numeric value for you. Let's navigate back to the Summary tab up here and work our way down. I have defaulted my ship to, bill to, and deliver to addresses, so those are pre-selected for my requisition. As we continue to scroll down, we can see this internal notes and attachment section. This attachment is the same attachment that's listed right there, just for easy viewing. You can also add external notes to your supplier or external attachments by utilizing this pencil for notes and this hyperlink for attachments. As we continue to scroll down, we can see we have 2 items, meaning we have 2 line items. Here's our supplier once again, and here's our first line item. Here's a chart field string that we would need to enter in. So let's go ahead and modify or edit the chart field values for line 1. And we do by selecting the pencil. I'm going to keep this at fund SL001, but if you need to change it, you would select the blue arrow pointing down and you can select search right here. You can enter in the numeric value or the actual description and then select filter. So once again, I'm just going to put in SL001 and filter. Once you locate the value for your fund, once again, you're going to select the blue plus sign. The depth ID I want to utilize is 126,000. And I'm just going to pre-select it right there. You'll notice your commodity code, that box is grayed out and you do not have the ability to modify it. Your commodity code was selected in your form and it's located under your item details section below. If you need to modify your commodity code, you would use this pencil over here. You cannot adjust your commodity code in the chart field string itself. The commodity code is what maps the account code. As you can see, the account code is grayed out as well, and you cannot modify the account code. However, if you have a different account that you need to enter for your chart field string details, you can enter it in your account override section. There's also the ability to add a program, class, or project. So let's go ahead and select Save. This is the fund I want to utilize and the depth ID. This is the commodity code that I selected, which was General Services, and it populated the account code Supplies and Services. As we scroll back down, let's go ahead and view. This is where your commodity code is listed under your item details, and you can utilize this pencil right here to update your commodity code. Remember, you can update your commodity code in the shopping cart level as well. You would select this magnifying glass, and once again, you could do that search that we did initially in the forms. Let's go ahead and fill in the chart field string details for line item 2. Since line item 2 is for a different shop and not the same department for this blanket amount only PO, let's go ahead and align that with the appropriate department. I'm still going to be utilizing my business unit SLCMP and my fund SL001, but let's change the depth ID. Once again, we're going to select the blue arrow and we're going to go ahead and search. So the value that I want is 126,500. It's going to be SBS Procurement Services. I'm going to select the blue cross as entering in that depth ID into my chart field string. Once again, the commodity code is pre-selected and determined, unable to modify, and the chart filtering in my account code is mapped by my commodity code. And then we're going to select Save. So we've added our attachment. We ensured that this is amount-only blanket PO. We entered in our chart field details, making sure that each one aligns with each line item for a different department. And now what's great is we can go over here to the summary section on the right-hand side and look at who our potential approvers are, even prior to submitting it into workflow. So as you scroll over here to the right, you can see the transparency throughout the system. The first two workflow steps are background validation that the system itself does. Then it maps to the DOA approver, delegate of fiscal authority, and this is mapped by the DEPT IDs I utilized. If you select the actual workflow step, it's going to populate who your potential approvers are. Since I have two different chart field strings and two different DOA mappings for DEPT IDs, the first one that I utilized, DEPT ID 126500, is going to notify Ashley, Bernadette, and Michelle they have something to approve. However, only one of them needs to assign it to themselves to approve it. Then the DOA will map to DEPT ID 126000 that I utilized for line 1, and David is going to be notified he has something to approve. And once he approves it, his name will be listed under here. Once both DEPT ID DOA approver steps have been completed, it will move on to the procurement review step. And we can see here that Danielle will be alerted that she has something to review and approve. So let's go ahead and submit the requisition into workflow. Once your requisition has been submitted into workflow, you'll be met with this green succession band. What's great is you have that blue hyperlink to take you right back to the requisition itself so we can view it. You can see after you submit your requisition into workflow, as a requester, you only have the ability to withdraw the entire requisition. We can see right now, it completed one of the validation steps and is now completing the second background system validation step. Then it's going to move on to the DOA approver step that we looked at. So both DEPT IDs will get approved. Once both of those have been approved, it's going to move to the procurement review step. And then it's going to carry on to some background validation steps, and it's actually going to create the purchase order prior to the requisition completing workflow. So now that we've gone through a goods and services form, amount only blanket PO, we looked at how the DOA maps different routings of DEPT IDs or funds that are associated with DOA structures and routing. Let's navigate back to the shopping homepage and go through a different form. As we navigate back to the shopping homepage, we're going to scroll back down to the showcases. And the second form that we're going to go over is the hospitality request form non-travel. Once again, we're going to be met with instructions of what this form should be used for and what the form should not be used for. So we can see it's going to be awards, venues, participation. We're not going to utilize this form, obviously, for IT hardware or software, goods or services, or direct pay. And each of these instruction landing pages always has a note that the supplier must be registered in the system. So let's go ahead and proceed after we've read these instructions. And we're going to go ahead and select our supplier here. So I'm going to select our Associated Students, Inc. at Cal Poly. And if you put in initials, you're going to be met with a couple different suppliers. It's not going to pre-select it as we did the last time for Mission Lennon. It's going to help the requester to go ahead and view the suppliers and pick the one that is accurate. So this one on the top is the one that I want to select. Once you select it, it's going to populate on the top right here. And let's go ahead and work through. It's going to let us know that we have general information to complete as well as cost details, acknowledging our workflow over here on the left that we need to have all green check marks. As we dive into the hospitality form, there are additional questions based on how you're answering the first two of the request details. So this is going to be an awards. And what type of event is this? This is an award or service recognition. Then we need to provide details or the business purpose for this. So this is actually a CSUBUY core team service award ceremony that we're holding. And you're going to add as many details to allow approvers that were listed in the workflow that we saw be able to review what the event is for. As we continue down, we need to enter in event details, so such as the name of the event. So we'll go ahead and enter in the event details. You can see there's a star by it. These are all required questions. This is just going to be a single day event. You do have the ability to do multiple days consecutive or non-consecutive. You're going to provide the event date. It's going to be for September 2nd. And then the number of participants that are going to be attending. If it's less than 5, then you can go ahead and enter in their names or group names right here. And you want to make sure that you identify them as faculty, staff, student, or community member. If you have more than 5, it's going to request that you add an attachment of the participants' names or groups. And you're going to acknowledge that you're going to add that attachment by selecting this box right here. So let's go ahead and proceed to our next group of questions that we need to answer. So it's verifying that we need to upload our quotes as well as our list of participants. And we're going to acknowledge that by saying, yes, we have documentation to attach. Now we need to enter in our cost details section based on the award or participant initiative. So let's go ahead and put in our unit cost. It's $302 for a quantity of 1. And the unit of measure is each. So the product description is actually, we're reserving a room and our UU, and we need a microphone rental for the date, and it's talking about what the actual event is. From here, your commodity code is pre-selected based on the questions that you answered. However, as we've seen before, you have the ability to modify your commodity code in the cart or requisition level prior to submitting it into workflow. As we continue on to next, if we had an additional line item to add, we can go ahead and select from this dropdown, save to cart, and add another. Once again, when you're adding a line item, your first line item is going to populate in your active cart, and your second line item is a duplicate of this. However, we can modify the cost details to align with our second line item. So if our second line item is $20, you can update the product description section as well, and then you can hit next. You would repeat that step for as many line items that you have on your quote or that you're requesting. Once you're done, you're going to select Add and Go to Cart. We're met with the shopping cart level where you can adjust the shopping cart name as well as adjust the commodity code. If you made an error and added an additional line item on accident, you have the ability to remove the line item. To remove the line item, we can either remove it in the shopping cart level by selecting the box next to the form that created the line item and navigating to the caret on the top and removing selected items. You can also do this at the requisition level. So if you proceed to check out, we can scroll down to the second line item, and we see that from the column, second line item. This is the form that created it. This is the action box for that line item. And you can select the ellipses by it and select remove. So now we've gone over how to add a line item and how to remove a line item. On here, since I have my chart field string details defaulted, you can always adjust those. So maybe I want to adjust my depth ID, search for a different one. I'm going to use ag for this. You can enter in an account override. So say that you were provided a chart field string that should not be utilizing supplies and services as the account. You can go ahead and utilize the magnifying glass and select an account override. Just for this demonstration, I'm just going to choose the cash on hand, for example. You can also enter in a program, class, or project, and then select save. Now on this requisition, let's look at the workflow and how that has been impacted based on the different form we utilize and the additions that we made to this requisition compared to the goods and services one. So on the right-hand side, we can scroll down and we can see that the DOA approver is going to be routed by depth ID still. And all of these individuals, since they're all DOA approvers for level 4, 0 to 250, will all be sent. They have something to approve. However, only one of these approvers need to assign it themselves to it and approve it, and their name will be listed underneath. You can see since I selected account override in my chart field string, it populated a new workflow step approval, accounting review. So after the DOA and procurement, if you selected an account override, it's going to route to our accounting review team to ensure that this is a proper account override to utilize. And then I'll continue with the background validation and creation of a PO. Let's go ahead and navigate back to the shopping homepage. If we wanted, we could submit this into workflow. We can add our attachments as we've seen before. So let's go over how to empty out your cart, delete your cart, and then copy or recreate a new cart. So once again, you can delete your line from here. However, if you want to delete your full cart, you can go to My Carts and Orders from Shop Flyout and View Carts. It's going to list your active cart that you have, and you can see that it's listed right here as well. I'm going to go to the Actions column, select the drop-down, and delete it. Let's head back to the shopping homepage. So let's go over how to copy to a new cart, which is great. The ability to reorder. You can reorder off of your own requisitions or any requisitions that were built for your campus. When you navigate to the orders flyout, you have the ability to search for all orders, meaning all requisitions that were created on your campus, purchase orders, change requests, etc. Or My Orders, which are your requisitions you created, purchase orders or vouchers. So let's go ahead and search for requisitions. In searching for requisitions, I'm going to go ahead and locate one that we can view to copy. So right here, here's a requisition that I need. I'm working with Tina in the same department. I need to actually place another exact order for the supplier. You can go ahead and navigate to the requisition itself. And what's great, even before the requisition has completed workflow, or if it's a requisition that has been withdrawn from workflow, you have the ability to utilize what's called the requisition actions, the ellipses in the top right, and select copy to a new cart. When you copy to a new cart, it's going to be met with that shopping cart. You can update your cart name. However, this is the exact order that you are actually copying into your cart. You can always make changes to the cost details section by navigating back into the form that created the line. However, if this is the exact order that you want to just resubmit, you can proceed to check out. When you're copying a new cart from another individual's requisition, you will have to update the ship to and deliver to addresses. When you copy to a new cart, any attachments that were added on that requisition will be removed, as well as comments, making it personalized for your own attachments or comments. And then once again, you'll have to enter in your chart field string details for each of these line items. Adding comments, we'll go through that in just a minute here. So if you do not have your chart field string details entered, you can see in your workflow area that it's not going to route to anyone quite yet. Once you enter in your chart field details, your summary and workflow approvers will then populate. So let's go ahead and enter in our chart field string details one last time. I'm going to go ahead and utilize my code favorites, which is this heart icon right here. And it's going to pre-populate based on different defaults I have selected. And you can enter in all your chart field string details. For the time being, we're just going to go ahead and remove the line items. So you can remove line items by the shopping cart icon as well by selecting the trash can next to the line item. So now you can see that I have 2 line items. We learned how to remove a line item in the requisition itself by checking the box, as well as utilizing the trash can in your active cart right there. So let's go ahead and view how a requisition converts to a purchase order and the whole workflow behind it. So at this time, we're going to navigate back to our shopping homepage. And let's view orders for purchase orders. So we can view all orders and all purchase orders. Let's go ahead and enter in a purchase order number. We can see this is a requisition that I built for ASI, for Associated Students, Inc. We can navigate to the purchase order itself. This was an amount-only PO that I created. What's great is you have a related document section over here underneath your summary tab. This is the requisition that I first created utilizing a payment for unauthorized purchases form, a different form. It went through all of the workflow steps you can see and created a purchase order down here. The other great thing about the system is it allows for transparency. So you have a history tab on the top that allows you to see what anyone has done to the actual purchase order, requisition, or voucher, letting you know if it was a user or the system itself, and what they actually did to the actual requisition. As we navigate back to this purchase order, we can see that it's amount only. I know that I need to close out this PO. This PO is ready to be closed. It doesn't need to be open anymore. There's no more invoices that are going to be submitted against this purchase order. So to close a PO, there's a form for it. Let's navigate back to the shopping homepage, scroll down to our form request, and go to request to close a PO. It's going to let you know this instructions is for closing an existing PO, and it's going to route to our purchasing department for a review. We're going to enter in the PO number, the supplier name, and the justification for why we are closing it out. So all funds have been paid on this. Explain why you're wanting to request this PO, and then you could go ahead and hit next, and then submit. And yes, we want to confirm to submit this form. And then you have this section over here on the left. You have the ability to view the discussion and start a new thread. So you can start a discussion with the procurement specialist that you're requesting to close this PO, as well as look at the approval workflow. So you can see that I submitted it today. You can click on view approvers, and it's going to be routed to Ashley, Darren, and Michelle to close. Once they close it, then it'll be finished. So let's recap. Today, we went over the shopping homepage, your landing page for all of your shopping needs. We reviewed the organizational message, as well as the flyouts on the left that allow you to fly to or navigate straight to sections such as suppliers, orders, and the shop flyout icon. We looked at the menu search below, above, and in the middle here. We talked about your active shopping cart, bookmarks. You can see action items if you get carts assigned, if you have any return requisitions, notifications to notify you to keep you updated all along the way, and your profile. As we navigated through the demonstration, we went over the showcases, the difference between the CSU form requests and the Punchout or catalog suppliers that are familiar from the e-marketplace. The differences on all of the form requests that you have a landing page for instructions of what the form should be used for and what it should not be used for. We went over how to create a open PO, amount only PO. We went over how to add line items, how to remove line items, how to assign a cart if you're a shopper, how to review your carts in the flyouts if you have any carts assigned to you. We went over a goods and services form. We went over the hospitality request form, how to add attachments, as well as how to view a requisition to a purchase order and how to request to close a PO. So thank you for attending my demonstration on the shopping experience in the CSUBUY P2P system. I hope this walkthrough provided helpful insight to how to navigate the system and create requisitions with confidence.
Thank you, June. That
Great
was so
job.
helpful.
I'm going to share the last slide here.
So we want to thank everybody for your attendance today. And we were going to try and take some questions. So if you raise your hand, I'm hoping that we can unmute you to so you can give us your question. The slide that you are looking at is your local campus contacts. So if you have specific inquiries, please reach out to your local contacts for questions. Hey, Alex. Let's see.
Is he able to unmute himself?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Can you unmute, Alex?
He just did. We can't hear you though.
Hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome.
Did you have a question?
Oh no, I thought you were calling on me, Tony. Did I raise my hand?
You raised your hand.
So we're like, Alex has a question.
Oh, sorry about that.
No worries.
But I do owe you something that I'm getting done this afternoon for you, Tony. I should be getting that the buyer's workflow for you.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions we can answer? Alejandra. It looks like you're unmuted, but we can't hear you if you're talking. Do we have to do anything to unmute her?
Don't
I
know.
unmuted her.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just gonna go to the next person, Noreen.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello.
Hi. Our campus has some, I guess, more strict requirements for approvals prior to purchasing. Will that be included since you had said this is going to be a more, I guess, cohesive system?
So a lot of the approvals based on how you're answering questions are going to be captured through the P2P system. So if you
Okay.
would have said on the hospitality form that there would be alcohol and your campus configured in that you have a special approver for alcohol or even for hospitality, it would automatically route for those approvals based on your campus configuration. We also have approvals for independent contractor, there's facilities approvals, fleet approvals, there's a lot worked into the system.
Okay, so as an example, if it was furniture, we have to go through our,
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So when
Yep.
this goes live, it'll replace the current system you have for that approval. So maybe you do a work order or an email based on the commodity code, it will, or how you're answering the questions, it will route to whoever your campus configured for the facilities review and approval. So it'll be
Gotcha.
captured all in the system.
Okay, and also any back and forth with that individual.
Yep.
Yes, you can do there's a comments feature in there. So yes, you will be able to communicate with them through the tool.
Okay,
All be
thank you.
captured in history.
Thank you.
Mhm.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the question.
Jessica Parker.
Are you guys able to hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
We are. Thank you.
Awesome. So my question was, first of all, thank you, June. That was an amazing presentation. When you were showing the list of approvers based on DOA, do all of them get a notice there's something to approve, or does it go in a hierarchical order?
Great question. So our DOA is based on the 4 different levels. And so based on the fiscal amount and the DOA approvers that are assigned to it, they're going to be all listed depending on if you have like 4 DOA approvers. If you saw it in that first one where I had 3, Ashley, Michelle, and 2. And then only one of them has to assign it to themselves to approve it. However, that second demo I did, if you saw there was a long list of DOA approvers, all of them are going to be sent a notification they have something to approve. However, only one needs to assign it to themselves and approve it. It's based on your DOA routing, based on fiscal authority, as well as DEPT ID fund and project.
Okay, so internally, we would have to have a discussion of who approves first, and if they don't approve, someone else.
Yes, so typically when there's multiple DOA approvers for one level, they kind of work out a system where there's a primary approver, and if that person's gone or can't get to it, the next person can jump in.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Hi, Bori.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much for that presentation. I did have a couple of questions, both very separate. But the first one I have is regarding the hospitality. I've noticed that there was, based on the form, for specifically like certain things, like for instance, promotional items. Um, I don't believe that there was any option I saw to like buy for, let's say, the fiscal year. Is that something that we're limiting based off of the CSU buy feature, or is that something that can be added later? Like for instance, when we buy swag items for various tabling events throughout the year, we kind of buy it all at once and we use them for all tabling events throughout the year. Is that something that the form will provide? Because I don't believe I saw um, any options that cater to that.
So the goods and services form is the only form that asks the question if it's the blanket order or amount only, where you want to keep it open. If you remember the section on the requisition under the PO information that I utilize the pencil to select amount only blanket PO, you can do that to any of the forms.
Oh,
so you
gotcha.
can make them. Yes, yes. The goods and services form is the only form that asks that question. All other forms, you would have to modify it at the rec level. And your buyer
Gotcha.
can also do that as well.
Okay,
Great
perfect.
question.
Thank you so much. And my last question is regarding the suppliers. Are we going to have like I noticed that on the Punchout, there are already suppliers listed on there for campus approval, but for all our other vendors and suppliers, like contract renewals, will that be populated into the system by launch, or is that something we're going to have to work with on the supplier workflow?
Your campus is working on that actually right now. They pulled a list of all of the suppliers from your system and they've been normalized, which means they looked across all campuses system-wide, and if it was in existence somewhere, they're creating one supplier ID for that supplier. So there have been a lot of suppliers that other campuses have already added that will be extended to your campus. So your campus won't have any action items on those suppliers. For the suppliers that have not been extended to your campus, your campus team right now is going through and working out all of the contact information, and those suppliers will receive a registration invite.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Joseph, are you with us?
Are you able to unmute? There you
Yes,
go.
yes. Hi, thank you. I'm from the University Student Union at Northridge. Question is, as far as training goes, we have currently, all departments issue purchase order requisitions as well as students, staff members. And that's a lot of people, probably 40, 50 people. So in regards to training, what is the expectation for that training and how, and what is the expectation for them to be able to come up to speed, replacing the manual process with the workflow process?
Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm taking all these questions, so somebody butt in if you want. Your campus is being trained on how to train your campus. So in August, they're going to the chancellor's office for Train the Trainer, it's called. They will be given slides and like instruction, I guess, on how to facilitate the training on your campus. So that will come once it's closer to go live. We're afraid if we train everybody too soon, they're going to forget everything. And then once we go live, they won't have those skills anymore. So once it's closer to go live, your campus will be training you all.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Rosita, sorry.
Hi, good morning. It is Rosida. My question is for Miss June. Thank you for the great presentation. You did mention something about comments, and I wanted to just find out what we will you be using that for, you know, in that requisition process.
Yeah, that's a great question. Tawny, if you just want me to share real quick, I can show
Sure.
kind of workflow. This is one section that you can go ahead and utilize comments. What's great about comments is you can capture everything and it'll be listed on the rec PO voucher. What I like to do is you have the ability to comment to your next approver. Maybe it's been sitting in this workflow for a week and no one's approved it yet. You can select the comments tab, select the plus sign for new comment. And what you need to do is you can add a recipient right here. It's going to pre-populate where the workflow step is, so Victoria, but you can add a recipient such as Anna Power that we need to go ahead and route a comment to. And just like as I was searching for a sign requester, you go ahead and search for the individual you want to route a comment to and select a plus sign. You can do as many comments as you want. We do a lot on our vouchers back and forth with our AP team and the actual PO owner. You just add your comment right here. You can add an attachment here as well. This is where you're going to add attachments after you submit your requisition into workflow. And then you can go ahead and select this check mark right here. You'll see right here the comment, who it was sent to. And then it's always going to live on your requisition, just like your attachments. You can have comments for all sections, POs, vouchers, or receipts. It allows communication to stay within the system instead of having external emails sent. And so that is all documented in your history section as well.
A lot of the times
Wonderful.
the
Thank
comments
you,
will
thank
come
you.
from, yeah, the comments will come from the approvers to the person who put in the requisition for a little more clarity, so they can go back and forth.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Mhm.
Thanks for the question.
Elizabeth Williams.
I'm here with our admin coordinator. We were both wondering, will this take the place of P cards on campus?
So no, it does
No.
not replace your P cards right now. Right now, your campus may have something called Marketplace where it has the punch out items that June showed. Right now, when you use those punch outs, you have to enter your P card information, and you can also use your P card outside of the system. In P2P, when you use the punch outs, you will no longer have to key in your P card information, which means every purchase through the new marketplace, the P2P marketplace, that punch out system, you don't have to do a pro card reconciliation on those anymore. So that's a huge win for any end users who have really thick pro card reconciliations. But it's not replacing pro cards. We're just encouraging people to, if they can use the punch out first. Go there. If you can't find what you're looking for there, then you can use your P card outside of the system, but you'll still have to do a reconciliation on any purchases done outside the system.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, this is Yuri. Thank you for the great presentation. Very thorough and much appreciated. Forgive me if you already answered this question, but I was wondering for shoppers, if they start the purchase order process, they start the request and they don't finish, can they save their work and come back to it later? And if so, how many, can you keep a dozen going at the same time, or, you know, so the department would not have to re-request something?
Yeah, so if you saw when I was in that shopping flyout section and we looked at carts where you can have an active cart or have multiple carts. So as a shopper, you can create as many carts as you want and have them listed under your draft carts and then assign it to a requester when ready to go ahead and submit into workflow. So that's your section over here in draft carts. Remember, when you're deleting up here, this is just deleting the line items. If you need to delete a cart or make it inactive, you need to go to your shop flyout and then my carts and then view carts. And you can see right here. And then you have those action items to make it active, where then they can go ahead and assign the cart to a requester to submit it into workflow. You also have a section over here under orders of my orders and my procurement requests, which are going to be all your abandoned forms that you've like started on, but did not submit into a cart. So you answered all the questions, but maybe you logged out. You can find such as my goods and services form, your request to close. So when we went over the process of requesting to close a PO, here's that form. So you can go back and look at it. So there's multiple other functionalities throughout the system that require a little bit more advanced training, but that gives you more insight into the capability a shopper has to do multiple carts prior to assigning them to a requester.
Perfect, thank you.
Martha?
Hi, good morning. Two questions. Right now, I'm working on the POs for our current fiscal year. We were told they're going to be canceled and we're going to need to reach out to the vendors to have them get into the supplier network. Am I going to be the one sending all our suppliers the link, or how is that going to work? Would you know? And
You're asking how to invite the suppliers?
well, do you know if for like SFSU, I have to personally reach out to all of, because right now, like I said, we're working on current POs and we were told they were going to close all our POs. We're going to have to redo the work over again and invite the suppliers to join our network.
Right. So you'll probably leave any of your like construction POs or multi-year POs. You probably won't have to worry about those right away. It's pretty typical for campuses coming in to maybe close their blanket POs. So you may have missed before, but I was saying that right now your campus is going through that work. Right now they're normalizing the suppliers system-wide. So all your supplier IDs are going to be different going forward. If they exist, another campus has already added that supplier will be extended to your campus automatically. So there's no work that your campus needs to be done there. But if no other campus has a supplier that your campus wants to use, they're going through right now and making sure they have a valid email for that supplier. And pretty soon, within the next couple of weeks, the first round of invites will be going out to all of the suppliers, requesting them to register in this new system. So we'll go through a couple rounds of that before you go live. And if the suppliers still aren't live by the time your campus goes live, then yes, there are different ways that you can request adding a supplier.
Okay, and then one question, for the PO, once you submit it for approval for goods and services, can the person that approves it send it back to me? Let's say they want me to change something. Can we update it?
Yes, so people can send it back to various steps in the workflow and allow people to edit before it's submitted.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So it's 11:10. Do we want to take just a couple more questions maybe? And then I can share, I'll share this slide one more time that shows your campus contact, and you all can ask your project lead on your campus. And if they're not able to answer, they can come back to us and we can help and they'll get back to you. Let me find that slide.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. I just had a quick question on when these recordings would be available. I did go into the CSUBUY, but I can't find them. So I was just wondering about that.
That's a great question for your campus project lead, and I'll share that slide right now. Every campus has a different place where they're going to be putting those recordings. I saw some campuses already have them up, or there's just one supplier recording. We also did a series of 4 demos just for the operational teams. Those may also be on your website.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we want to take another question?
Sure.
How about one more?
Okay. Heather, you are up.
All right. My question is when the person is creating a requisition and they're trying to find their supplier, is one of the options, can they search by DBA, or is there really only the one search? If they don't know the right name, then forget it.
No, that's a great question. So that's why I try to show, I put initials in for our Associated Students Inc. ASI. It's going to populate any names that have that kind of initial. You can put in the DBA of the supplier and it's going to populate it as well if the supplier registration has the DBA associated with it. My best thing to, when I guide supply or our users at Cal Poly, is just put in the supplier name. You don't want to put in any of the other details such as the zip code, because that goes to the actual supplier's fulfillment address and not your zip code you're located in your campus. I always suggest to search for the supplier first when you're utilizing the system to make sure that they're approved, active, and synced in the system before starting a form to make sure that they are a viable supplier to start that requisition process. Does that help answer your question?
It really does. Thank you so much. I
Great.
appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right.
I'm being told, Sarah, there's only 3 more questions right now. Do we want to take those?
Sure. Let's take 3 more.
We'll take 3 more and then we're done.
Then we're really done.
Yeah.
00995.
Hello.
Hello.
How I know like you have a recording, but how I find out the recording to review later?
Yes. So find on the slide that I'm sharing right now, if you could locate your campus and your campus contact. If you email them, they can let you know where to find the recording on your own campus's CSUBUY P2P website.
Thank you so much. And this is apply for every CSU, or just like depend on the state we are. Like for example, Long Beach, we have a new policy, or they apply for every single CSU policy.
The policy?
Yeah, the for the new procedure right here, they apply for every single CSU, or depend on which the state we are. Then we follow the our state. For example, Long Beach, the CSULP.
I think specific questions can go to your campus contact, but generally we are using system-wide policies. The procedures have varied quite a bit because we haven't had a shared system, but now with P2P, the procedures are being a little more streamlined as well. There is some flexibility for little campus nuances, but generally we're trying to move to a more system-wide approach. But I would say if you have more questions, please contact your campus lead and they can answer the specifics.
And one more question. If when this will be applied for the new policy for CSU, when?
We're expected to go live, and I wouldn't necessarily call this a policy, but it's more of a workflow. This is going to go live early 2026, so after winter break.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Brenda, you're up. If you're still here.
I think you need to unmute yourself, Brenda.
Okay.
There you are.
I'm in a strange department where we have hundreds of chart strings. And so normally when I use my Pro card through this marketplace vendors, I separate it on the back end when applying chart strings. Are we going to be able to do that line by line when we place the order? And then also with the minimum order quantities, am I going to have to combine carts? Or are we going to allow hundreds of people access to be a requester?
So yes, there are typically hundreds of requesters, as there are today, who do requisitions in PeopleSoft. And June went over a couple examples. So when the recording comes out, maybe go back to that, but she showed how you could break off different line items to do various chart fields.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's also the ability, Brenda, to split. So if you bought one thing and you wanted it to be split, you can split it by chart field as well.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, we have a lot of strange things in my non-traditional college within
You're
Sac
not
State.
alone. We all have the strange things.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Right on. Thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right.
Was that the last one or
No,
did we?
Kathy's the
Okay.
last one.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, June, for the through presentation and let us know every details. I have a question about the reporting things, that whether there's some ways that we can export, report that, like, for example, this fiscal year, how many orders we already have, and how many already completed and how many is pending there, and if there's any possible that we can figure out that from the report and where the order procedures are, that which step we're supposed to go next step, like holds or any issues there that we can look through from the report, but not, one by one click into the order.
I'll say generally, yes, there is reporting, and it's, I think, way more user-friendly than CFS queries. The reporting is pretty flexible and you have a lot of control over what you're pulling. I don't know specifically what you would be looking for. That would be a great question for your campus contact, and we could work with them to maybe dig into what specific questions you have. But a future demo covers the reporting functions.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah, and the other piece is, yes, you'll have some reporting in CSUBUY, which, like Tawny said, is really robust, actually. And then the information for the actual transaction does flow through to CFS. So if you have reports already built in CFS that you are pulling, those will still work. It's just the source has come out of this CSUBUY system.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We'll see you on the next demo.
Should we hop into backstage?
Yep, let's go do that.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.